The title of this presentation deals really with the clean break plan and whether it is a conspiracy theory to think it's affecting our policy or actually a conspiracy of theories. The information I'll be discussing is drawn, as she mentioned, from a book that we published in 2003 called Neocon Middle East Policy, the Clean Break Plan Damage Assessment, which we're proud a couple of weeks ago reached number 222 on Amazon Books, which is not bad for a title like that. And also Deadly Dogma, which is going to drive most of the final slides that I discuss. Hasn't reached any significant volume on Amazon, but we're trying. I think just to put the clean break plan in a bigger framework, I think it's interesting to look at it in the context of other documents. Back in 2003, when we first started producing research that looks at the policy formulation process here in Washington, D.C., we began to cast about for the documents which seemed to be the core policy documents with the most influence on Bush administration officials. And we centered on three particular documents. The Clean Break Plan is interesting because by far it's the most specific. It's essentially a laundry list of policy objectives that's extremely specific and extremely detailed, although it's only a few pages long. But there are two other documents that I think anyone who really wants to understand the core policy formulation process and who really wants to understand what's behind US policy need to understand are two other documents. Rebuilding America's Defenses, which was published by the Project for a New American Century in September of 2000. It's important to read that document for the clues it provides about pre-positioning US military assets in the region in the name of securing power projection over petroleum resources, as well as securing Israeli interests in the region. It's important to understand that important PNAC members include Paul Wolfowitz, Bill Kristol, Donald Rumsfeld, Richard Pearl, Elliot Abrams, John Bolton, among other people who entered the administration or remained on the outside as key advisors. It's important to read these documents because the suggestions that they made are part of their DNA. They brought that with them into the administration. And finally, the US National Security Strategy, not the one that just came out, but the one that came out in 2002, which went to great lengths justifying preemption as a strategy for the United States for the very first time. Legitimizing preemption. This is thought to be largely the work of Paul Wolfowitz, who had tried in other circumstances to legitimize preemption as an American strategy. Again, of the three documents, the Clean Break Plan is by far the most specific and therefore the most interesting. But if we use another analogy, this time of a personal computer, if this neoconservative influenced policymaking were a personal computer, clearly the hardware is the national security strategy of the USA. The operating system, pre-positioning assets in the region, is rebuilding America's defenses, and the program, rather the specific instruction set, is the Clean Break Plan. We're going to take a look at also the direct line between the specific suggestions in the Clean Break Plan and a third branch that has not come under great neoconservative influence. These suggestions were largely made for Congress and the executive branch. The judicial branch, however, is now beginning to give some opinions through criminal prosecutions, or a criminal prosecution in particular, about what laws govern policy formulation and what is inside and what is outside of those laws. When I say conspiracy of theories, I'm attempting to replace the idea again that you're a conspiracy theorist if you think the Clean Break Plan and these other documents affect US policy. A conspiracy of theories simply takes the dictionary definitions of two words and puts them together. Conspired is, or can be, merely acting in harmony as a group toward common ends. Whereas a theory is simply a policy or a set of procedures proposed or followed as a basis of action. Too many, I think, clean break policies have been implemented by the Bush administration in concert with neoconservatives inside and outside of governments and Israeli figures inside and outside of government to say that this is a conspiracy theory or to say that this is a post hoc logical fallacy, that simply because we've seen so many of these things implemented doesn't necessarily mean they sprang from this particular document. We believe that this document had a strong influence, and what I'd like to do is summarize and then highlight some of the specific recommendations from the Clean Break Plan, and then take a look at some of the underlying theories underpinning the objectives so that we can evaluate them and have a meaningful discussion